Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, David here, and welcome back to another ATLUS news episode. And I'm super excited for this one because we have details and actual updates on Persona 4 Revival. And that is very exciting because ever since ATLUS revealed Persona 4 Revival officially at the Xbox Game Show in June of this year, it's been silent when it comes to news. Of course, we had an update in an investors meeting for Sega and ATLUS saying that, hey, we can expect that game starting from March of next year, and that's dope and all. Plus, keep your eyes peeled on the channel because another investors meeting is happening in about a month or so. So I'm going to be covering that, and generally we get very interesting info in those. So if you want to stay up to date on all things ATLUS and ATLUS news, ring that little notification bell if you're subscribed. I would really appreciate that. But when it comes to today's update, we have details on Persona 3 Reload, the Switch 2 version of the game. Why didn't we get a Switch 1 version? Why was the choice of platforms excluding Nintendo when it first launched back in February of last year in 2024 for P3RE? A lot of interesting details that we'll quickly go over, but of course we also have updates for Persona 4 Revival, which that is the crispy stuff. We have details about how the development is going, so small details, I just want to give you that, but cool details regardless. We have the kind of a confirmation that they're changing things as well for Persona 4 Revival, so that's going to be very interesting to speculate on. And they also mentioned the possibility of a Switch 2 version for the game, which I want to speculate about as well. So let's get into the swing of things. What happened is journalists for Gamer were able to interview two of the ATLUS GOATs at Tokyo Game Show 2025, and that would be for General P-Studio manager Mr. Kazuhisa Wada and also Mr. Shigeo Komori, the director of the Switch 2 version for Persona 3 Reload, but he's well known for his work behind the Etrian Odyssey franchise and also Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. Shouts to Persona Central for the translation because this was a Japanese interview. Can't read Japanese, so shoutouts to Persona Central. As always, sources in the video description, so if you want to read the whole article, which honestly you probably should, it's really interesting, it's linked in the video description. So let's check it out. The first question that Wada was asked that I definitely want to go over is, could you tell us the background behind the development of the Switch 2 version of Persona 3 Reload? And that is very interesting because when Reload first came out, obviously a lot of people, myself included, were hungry and were really hoping for a Switch 2, for a Nintendo Switch version, even though it would be obviously 30 frames, it would be a lower resolution than other platforms. We would have been fine, and it would have been a great way to play the game. Like, again, it's coming out on Switch 2, it's 30 frames per second, visually speaking, it's gorgeous, but there's little issues here and there. And if you want to play a game portably like this and you don't want to deal with PC gaming, people are going to check that out. It's going to do fine on Switch 2. So, interesting to see that Wada had this to say to this question. We've had the desire to bring it to Nintendo hardware from the start, but simultaneous development was simply too difficult at the time. After the Switch 2 was announced, we thought, we want to get our hands on development kits as soon as possible and bring this to those who want to play on Switch 2. And that's when we started moving forward. So they wanted to make it happen on Switch 1 from day one. And you know what, guys? And keep in mind what I'm about to say, because we'll talk about that for Revival. But ATLUS and Sega, they want to push multi-platform as much as possible. Nintendo has weaker hardware, so unfortunately certain ATLUS and Sega games were releasing multi-plat but skipping Nintendo because the Switch was way weaker than everything else on the market. Switch 2 is more powerful, or right along the lines of a Series S, so now we can expect more games on the platform, and Sega did something recently that made me extremely happy. I know there's problems around that release itself, but I'm very excited for it regardless, and that release is getting a Switch 2 version with Yakuza Kiwami 3 plus Dark Ties, which I'm gonna play on Switch 2 for sure, day one. It's releasing alongside other platforms, and big Yakuza games in the Dragon Engine from Sega used to take a long time to come to Switch, or just not at all. Basically, we got Yakuza Kiwami 1, which wasn't in that engine. We got Yakuza 0, which wasn't, but now we have Kiwami 2, we have Kiwami 3 as well, and Lord knows that we'll get more. So, very exciting to see that, hey, now that they know there's a bigger platform with more performance at Nintendo, they have real multi-platform versions, again with Kiwami 3, now Persona 3 Reload, but I expect more day and date releases on all platforms and Switch 2 when it comes to Sega and ATLUS going forward, and that certainly includes Revival, which we'll talk about in a second. The next question that Wada was asked is, why did you choose to make it exclusively for Switch 2? The main reason is simple. We wanted to deliver the game to everyone as soon as possible. We aimed to release it as fast as we could without any significant delay from the other versions. We considered releasing Persona 3 Reload for both the Switch and Switch 2, but we realized that doing so would delay the release by at least a year more than originally planned. And that is very interesting because if you plan on an additional year of development time for the Switch 1 version, you have this huge millions of players on that system, a huge install base. I don't know. The game started development in 2019, it released in 2024. I think that is a mistake on their hand. I think a year of development time, you would have seen a great ROI with return on investment here with a Switch 1 version back in February. Now, late 2025, is a Switch 1 version worth it? No, I don't think so. But early last year, I think it probably would have been worth it. But hey, they decided against it, and that's fine. That's fine. Komori was also able to provide an answer to that question, and he said when we tested it on Switch, we realized that a direct port would be challenging performance-wise. To achieve the same comfortable controls and graphics that match the hardware, we would have to completely rebuild the UI and art assets that would push the release back by at least a year. So you know what? If you have to change some minor stuff like that, I'm fine with you skipping the platform. On Switch 2, we have the real experience, which, hey, that's cool, and it has issues on Switch 2 as well, so hey, they probably did the right move. That's fine, but it's cool to have details and to have answers about questions that we asked multiple times in the past, which would be why isn't Reload on Switch 1, you know? Alright, so when it comes to the revival details now, Wada was asked, we're just about out of time, but after the Switch 2 version of Persona 3 Reload, we have the remake of Persona 4 Revival next in line. Since its development was only recently announced, I imagine you can't share many details yet, but could you give us a few words? And Wada said, let's see, focus you guys on how they phrased this and the choice of words. Let's see. Persona 4 already packed a ton of content in Persona 4 Golden, so when it comes to creating the next remake, it's not just about adding more, we have to create an experience that's enjoyable in a new and different way. And this includes the sheer volume of content, so to be honest, it's a tough challenge, but it's shaping up nicely. So right now, they are saying that it's challenging to work on a remake of Persona 4, which makes sense, but it's shaping up nicely already. When we saw the game in June of last year, a lot of fans, myself included, reacted with like, oh, Persona 4 remake, and then as they kept showing it, I'll speak in first person. My reaction was like, it's cool. I'm excited for a Persona 4 remake. I don't know about what I'm seeing though. I don't feel the tone and I don't feel the atmosphere that Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden are giving me in this trailer. It feels too bright, too shiny, and I had similar complaints with certain sections of Reload. But that being said, I trust P-Studios. P-Studios are the GOATs. They make amazing games and they know how to handle things. So I'm confident that it's too early to show it. They decided to show it regardless because of everything that was happening at the time. Fine, I'm excited that I saw it. I don't necessarily 1000% like everything that they showed, but I know that once they re-show it or whenever I get my hands on it, it's going to be awesome. So not too worried here, but it's cool to see that, hey, 4 months after, development's shaping up nicely, it's progressing smoothly, so very exciting stuff. The next question was, you probably can't say anything about the release date or content yet, but is it safe to say we can look forward to it? And Wada said, absolutely. We're working hard to make it a game that lives up to everyone's expectations. While we can't announce a release window yet, whoops, we already have that through your investors report, we'd really like everyone to focus on the Switch 2 version of Persona 3 Reload first. They always say that stuff. That's fine. We've got several projects in development, including P4 Revival, so please look forward to them. Of course, they have several projects in the works. That is not surprising. We know the infamous Persona 6 is in the works, so that's interesting as well. But maybe we get Persona 4 Revival before. At this point, that's pretty much where I'm at on this one. So. And then he said, also this is a bit of a tangent, but 2026 will mark the Persona series 30th anniversary. We hope to make it a year where fans can enjoy the series even more. So first official acknowledgement of the Persona 30th anniversary by ATLUS staff, and that is exciting to me because y'all know that this dumbass with actual expectations is very excited to have expectations for the 30th anniversary of Persona. It's going to be awesome. 25th was a great ride, a great roller coaster of emotion. We were like, whoa, whoa, fuck. And, that's how it went. But at the end of the day, we got 4 game releases out of it, 3 highly anticipated ports. I wouldn't necessarily count Arena Ultimax, but the other 3 games we were very excited to get on all platforms, and I think with 30th, they're going to deliver even more because I fully expect Revival to launch and to have tons of details and a blowout of info on Persona 6, so that's going to be freaking awesome. But at the end of the day, when I read that whole article, I'm like, okay, so when you read between the lines here, I want to talk about a few things. The fact that development is progressing smoothly, that's great. The fact that they're thinking about how to do things with this remake, how they're going to change things or not, that's also exciting because when it comes to Reload, it's pretty much untouched. So I'm curious to see what they're changing or not here in Revival. I think that is going to be very intriguing whenever they decide to re-show it. What are we going to see? Is there going to be cut content? Is there going to be new content? Overall, excited for that. But when it comes to Switch 2, at this point, you guys, with how early Persona 4 Revival looked and seemed in June when they showed it, I think they're early in development. They keep saying that they want to push multi-platform to investors, to fans. They keep saying that, and it makes sense financially speaking. It made sense for your fans as well. They want to do it. To me, a game like Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties coming out on Switch 2 in February of next year confirms that Persona 4 Revival is also going to release on Switch 2. Reload is on Switch 2. It has little issues. It has compromises, but that's what they can give us on Switch 2. And honestly, I'm fine with that. If Revival is set to release day and date with the other versions on Switch 2, that's where I'll play it. And I definitely think that this is what they're going to do. They're doing Reload. You guys focus on Reload. That's what it's saying, because next year you're going to get Revival on your damn Switch 2. That's where I'm at. That's what I think is going to happen. So very exciting stuff. I am stoked to hear more about Persona 4 Revival. If I had to speculate, I think there's a good chance we see it at the Game Awards in December, which I'll be streaming on the channel for sure, or at least I'll try to. But definitely next year with the 30th anniversary, I expect the game to release and for us to get a blowout of information. So as we get presentations early next year, state of plays, Xbox game showcases, Nintendo Directs, we're going to get more information on that title. And I am here for it. But the fact that I'm thinking about late next year and I'm like, freaking Persona 6 might be closer than we think, that is very exciting to me. Thanks for watching, y'all. Have a good day. Bye.